Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. So today we're going to talk about whether sex is a reward, it's not, spoiler, and which men and women think that it is. And if y'all are not following me on Facebook, obviously you should be in the secret group. That's my paid $4.99 Facebook group. It's awesome. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. But if not, you should definitely be following my free page on Facebook. I post all the time. And so on that page, there are obviously a lot of angry people that have been hurt in relationships, etc. And that's who often searches out and specifically comments angrily on relationship content. And so I posted this little thing after Mother's Day that I thought was funny and true, which said, if you thought you knocked it out, or like if you don't get laid this week, then you probably didn't knock it out of the park on Mother's Day like you thought you did. Meaning, like, if a guy really thought he did a great job on Mother's Day for his wife, but he doesn't have sex this coming week, then probably he didn't do such a good job, which I thought was funny and true. And, some people wrote, haha, like people that don't have a bone to pick with the universe. But some people wrote, oh, no, sex shouldn't be a reward. And this is what's wrong with women, or what's wrong with you, and, whatever. So basically, I didn't say anything about sex being a reward. So let me explain. And if you are listening or like, oh, yeah, you did mean sex should be a reward, then you are exactly who should be listening to this episode. And before we dive into that, please do subscribe to this podcast. There are 25% more episodes, about 165 extra episodes. If you're a subscriber, it's only $8.99 a month. Awesome content, if I do say so myself. And since I am the only person on this podcast, I am the only one to say it to you. And if you like listening to me, then you would want to listen to more of me. All right, so anyway, let's get back to the heart of what we are discussing. Oh, and the most recent subscriber episode, by the way, was which women are okay with their husband having long work hours or traveling for work, and which women are not. If that's an issue for you, as it has been for so many people in my office, then listen. Okay, so I did not mean that women would sexually reward their husbands for doing a good Mother's Day. Like, that is not what is meant by a happy woman having sex. What I meant is if she's happy, she's going to feel close and want to have sex. I have a podcast titled, Wait, Why Would You Get Laid If You're Not Loving? Like, because if a woman feels close to you, and she's one of the many women who want sex, which is the majority. Remember, the majority of people are not in a sexless marriage. The majority of women are not low libido. This is another one that has to be clarified a lot. And I'll talk about the commonality between the men who are confused about these two things in 1 second. But just because women have responsive desire and they don't go around like horn dogs all day, does after the honeymoon stage, for especially women as they age, little young women like 25 years old, they're cool. They go around thinking about sex all the time. They don't have kids. What do they, take a nap, think about sex, go out, think about sex. It's like, you're just like a young, fun mammal, in your prime. But as people get older, right? So especially women within monogamy, especially as they age, you're not thinking about sex all the time. You're just not. You have other things on your plate, and that makes sense. You're evolutionarily, you're prioritizing your kids. You're not in the honeymoon stage. I talk about this so much. So your eyes turn back outward into the community and your job and your kids and your friends and all of these things. Of course, you love your husband, and most women want to have sex. So if it's, if they're relaxed and they feel close, then they start thinking, I want to have sex. Not like I am so horny right now, but I want to have sex because I know sex is going to be good, And so if you know that something's going to be good, it's like my analogy. You're not already relaxed when you schedule a massage. You know you're going to get relaxed from the massage. So you're not already horny as a responsive desire woman. If you initiate sex, you know you're going to get that way within the first little bit of time and foreplay. So anyway, most women enjoy sex, and most women enjoy it and think it's part of a relationship. And irrespective of if they have the same sex drive of their husband, they don't, most don't, some have more. That's about 20%. But, most of them still want to have sex, but they don't want it if they don't feel close. So if they feel close, it's not like a good job type of thing. It's you made me feel close. It's as absurd as if you thought that. So what if a woman danced around her husband in her underwear and then he had sex with her and then she said, "Oh, so you rewarded me because you liked that I did that?" No, you turned him on. Literally, you turned him on. That's like literally what happened. And so when you do romantic things for your wife, you make her want closeness of all kinds. She wants to be close then. She wants sex that she will enjoy. And she will enjoy it all the more because she's feeling romantically connected. It's very symbiotic and bidirectional. So the more romantically close she feels, then the more she wants sex. And if she is in the first half of her cycle, you got the best chance she's going to be horny on top of it. She will actually be aroused and feel like she wants you if it is more romantic and it feels more like the honeymoon stage. Is that going to happen all the time? No. But if you plan a spectacular romantic day, well, it really might. It's kind of like confuses her a little bit. It's like, oh, wait, are we in the honeymoon stage? So it would be like a man's refractory period would usually be, let's say, an hour if he's an older guy. But if she does some crazy shit, well, it may be less, because it's almost like he's confused. He's like, is this a new partner? Because, the Coolidge effect, as I've discussed, men's refractory period decreases when a new mate is put in the cage for all mammals, including humans. And so, but if the woman does some really interesting stuff in bed, he's going to be like, wait, who's this? It's like it's confusing in a positive way. And so the woman's and the man's refractory periods will both decrease if they are treated in a way that makes them feel unusually happy and close. So no, sex is not a reward. Now, who thinks like this? Guys who have never really seen a woman enjoy sex, and there's a lot of men like that out there. And that's why I have very pragmatic podcasts like my one on oral sex, my one on female arousal. What does it look like? I have things that are like, does your wife really enjoy sex? There's a lot of guys who are coupled with very low libido, sex negative women, but themselves did not have any experience before. And they frequently are very confused by women. They did not have good upbringings. They did not learn to trust people, which then, of course, made them less socially adept and less able to get a woman who does enjoy sex and romance and love, So it's kind of this vicious cycle. Like if you're a little boy and you're raised in a house with fighting and a mother who's constantly unhappy, then that's what you think that marriage is and that women are. And so then when you get into a relationship where the woman barely wants to touch you and you always seem to be fucking something up and there's conflict and fighting and not a lot of sex, you're like, oh yeah, that's just the human condition, isn't it? And so then you do think that women use sex as a reward. Now, also, some men in those kind of unhappy relationships, the women are sex negative enough, and those little girls were raised in very similar homes, the ones that couple with the grown-up little boys that were raised in those homes, and they hate sex. They hate sex, they hate men, they hate love, they may have been abused, their mother may have been abused, and they learn that men are just pigs and they just are animals who just think with their penises. And so every so often you have to have sex with them. And those women may actually verbalize, that, sex is a reward or like that it's a very infrequent sort of thing that she just does because she has to or something like that. So then that amplifies the man's pre-existing negative biases about sex. Because he literally, confirmation bias, he found a woman that epitomizes his deepest fears because she actually does feel that way. And he has no idea that she's the minority. And she has no idea that he's the minority. And they're just locked in misery eternally. And so then when men like that hear that other women actually have sex on purpose or initiate it and do it when they feel close and connected was never part of these men's sexual experience at all. It was just really an animal act. And then the fact that it was an animal act amplified how the woman that is partnered with this man thinks that all men think it's an animal act. But neither of them really has the knowledge, the capacity, or even the belief that sex could be more than that, could be more than 5 or 10 minutes of thrusting, you know? And so therefore, they don't believe that there are people in the world where the kind of closer they are, the more romantically connected they are, the better their sex life is, even though that is how it is for the majority of people and for almost all healthy women. You know, the more romantically connected you feel, the more sex you're going to have, of course. Goes without saying. It's like, are you going to have a better day with your child when they come home and give you a hug and a kiss and say, you're the best mommy? Are you going to have a nice day? Are you going to have a nice afternoon? Sure you are. Of course you are. Or if you take them to play catch and they're like, wow, Dad, thanks so much for taking me to play catch. You're the best dad. Yeah, of course you're going to want to spend more time with them. I mean, that goes without saying. When a person is pleasant and loving, you're going to want to be close to them. And so that, of course, is what I meant by the Mother's Day thing. And that's what I mean in general when I help men in my office constantly to understand romance and love and how to express themselves in a close and connected way such that the woman actually wants to be close, which doesn't mean she feels actively aroused in that moment, but she wants to. She wants to get into a position where touch can, because that's what responsive desire means, that touch turns you on instead of being turned on prior to touch. So she's going to feel warm and snuggly, which leads to sexual, when you are nice and romantic and loving and plan nice things and act like you love her and give her compliments. And I have lots of podcasts and stuff like, what does your wife mean by be more romantic? Can't get more straightforward than that, you know? So if in your marriage sex has been a reward or something that literally, like, your wife has said she withholds on purpose, that is unusual. That means you're locked in a very toxic dynamic, you know, because in a healthy, loving marriage, people aren't withholding sex. They may not be having sex constantly either, especially at certain times of life. A woman with like a new baby is not withholding sex. She doesn't think about sex for one split second. Her whole body hurts. She's obsessed with the baby because biology, you know. But a guy who is raised to think that women are all evil thinks that she's withholding sex at that time too, you know. And then these relationships get into these really toxic dynamics, you know, where there's basically two traumatized, fearful, avoidant people who constantly are obsessed with finding each other, doing things that are wrong, and they're paranoid about being exploited and victimized and all sorts of stuff. And you should listen to this Fearful Avoidant podcast if this resonates with you, or if you had any sort of upbringing that was very sad, abusive, neglectful, or where you did not see a loving marriage. All right, I hope that you guys got something out of this. Again, if a lot of this stuff can be worked through in individual and or couples counseling, if you ever need a therapist or a coach, we work everywhere at Best Life Behavioral Health, my virtual group practice. Therapists can only work in certain states, but coaches can work everywhere. Relationship coaches are great. Some of them that at my practice are even therapists. So if you do need help with any of these issues, if my podcast, a lot of people reach out, they're like, I really recognize myself in a lot of your stuff, your podcasts, your posts, etc. And so I want to start working with somebody, whether it's individual or couples, you know, and that's great, you know. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please do subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day, everybody.